Good day and welcome to Barbarian Whirlwind style. Well, here we have the stats and skills. Battle command max gives 3 skills. Battle orders max gives a bit of life. Shout gives defense. So those are the war cries we use. As you can see, we have 17 in shout, so that's where the leftover points goes. But you can put leftover points where you want, really. Shout, I mean, it makes a difference, but you can make a difference in different ways. You know, if you go Grimward, you can kill bosses faster, and if you go, you know, find item, you can use the character in Traveling Call if you need to do that, you know. If you need more rest, you can click here instead. If you want more speed, run walk, you know, you can click here instead of shout. So the shout points is where it's optional, you know. You can put where you want, where you need, where you feel like you want extra points. You can put 16 extra points somewhere with this build. Edge weapon mastery, it's glitched, but that's what's level 20. In stamina is only level 1, but it looks weird here. It's edge weapon mastery level 20 because this build uses an axe instead of a war pike or club, you know. So we go edge weapon mastery. There's a few reasons why, but basically they are the best kind of weapons. With all things considered, edged weapons are the best kinds. There's 2 different ones, but we'll go into the gear soon. 20 points in Whirlwind, obviously. There's no synergy for Whirlwind, so we just put 20 points here, and that's all we can do for damage increase. It's Whirlwind and edged weapon mastery. That's the only damage increase we can get, so the rest comes from gear or, you know, strength. But, you know, putting points into strength and sacrificing the little life you have is very, very bad, because you will die. It's just that simple. You will die. You don't have enough life to survive long enough to level up. So definitely don't put points into strength enough, more than you need, you know, to equip your stuff, and then everything else goes to vitality for the attributes. Resistances, I mean, they're always going to be kind of good on Barb because of the gear and because of natural resistance over here. So resistance is going to be pretty good for most barbarians. Don't really need to do much to get the resistances other than having Ariats and whatnot to show you the gear. Here comes the gear. Alright, so first of all, Ariat's face. Every barbarian build uses this except wow. Ain't that typical? Alright, back. So every barbarian uses this helmet, and it's because it just gives everything that you need on barbarian in one item. It solves a lot of problems in one item. And when it comes to replacing this helmet for something else, some other helmet, what you're really looking at is, you know, plus to skills, you know, because that's what you can get from a helmet. That's the best stat you can get on a helmet, is plus to some skills, and this one has +4, so I mean, you can't beat Ariats. That's just a simple fact. Very overpowered item. So you use it. End of story. As far as the sockets go, you can only use, really, on Whirlwind Barbarian, you only use one kind of jewel. It's enhanced damage. You do not use enhanced damage with max damage because it glitches and you don't get any max damage increase from using jewels like that in the same item. I'll put the link in the description for the jewel bug. There is a lot of conditions that you can read about if you want to be like that, but I'm gonna be simple and straight and, you know, tell you how it works easy enough to remember. Don't use mixed jewels in the helmet. Only use enhanced damage jewels in the helmet. If you want, you can use enhanced damage attack speed, but you don't need to use attack speed. In Path of Diablo, Whirlwind does not care about your attack speed or your being frozen or decrepified or anything like that. It doesn't care about that. It will spin at the same speed every time you use the ability. And you will move at the same speed every time you use the ability. So putting a charm rune in here is also unnecessary. And just a waste of a slot. So don't put charm rune, only put damage. You have such low damage with this build, you need all the damage you can get. I mean, this class, it's not a build thing, it's a class thing. Anyway. The same reason that we put enhanced damage jewels only in the helmet is the same reason that we use fortitude. All these stats here, they don't matter, except for enhanced damage. We only want to get damage because we don't have any damage, basically. The damage is trash. We have really good single target damage, but if we want to kill, you know, 3,000 monsters, we can't do that one by one. We need to have we need to at least one shot everything to even have a chance. So we need to have a ED, you know, on all the gear as much as possible. So even if you could get a 4-socket, you know, shaft stop and put enhanced damage jewels in it 4 times and whatever, like, this is still better because it gives more enhanced damage. It costs a low rune, super cheap, and this is one reason low rune is not very valuable, because it's used for fortitude and grief, and nobody uses those items really. I mean, only time you would use Lu is for fortitude, and that would be for a boson or a barbarian. And honestly, melee barbarian is trash. So yeah, this rune is not very valuable then because of that. Moving on. Well, also there's one more thing about low rune that makes it very, very low value. It's the fact that you can't put this in the weapon and get the 20% crit chance on Whirlwind. If you put low rune in your weapon and use Whirlwind, you only get 7% crit chance from the low rune. So you get a third of the bonus only from Deadly Strike, so, and crit. So low really sucks. But we use it for fortitude. This build is pretty cheap, actually, because nobody wants to play a shitty class. So you can definitely make a cheap barbarian. Anyway, laying of hands is the best hands to use, the best gloves. The roll can be 250, and the best slam is to get all res. 10 maximum you can get from the slam. That's what you're trying to get anyway. 250 ED and then as much all rest as possible. So once again, like the ED, you want to get as much damage. This is only to demons, obviously, but you want to get as much damage as possible from all kind of sources. So we move on. It's the same thing. Adds damage. The rest is nice, but it adds damage, and we have not dex slam. We have all rest slam. There's nothing more to say. I mean, it's only damage. We get it for damage. We get this for damage. We get this for damage. Yeah, these 3 items are for damage. This item is not for damage. There is no belt that gives damage except Razor Tail. It gives like 10 damage or something. The Razor Tail damage makes no difference. So this Life Leech and this PDR and this MDR, it does make a difference. So you get medical damage reduction and physical damage reduction from this. Plus you get life leech, which is nice. Definitely life leech is gonna be necessary with any melee class. And oops. So we have 19 life leech. I think that's about minimum. With less, you're gonna start to have struggles, you know, maintaining your HP. And then, well, you're always gonna get. Just keep this in mind, everyone. Like when you play melee, there's gonna be this elite that just kills you with one hit, and we can't gear against that, unfortunately. I mean, we can gear against that, but then we can't kill anything if we, you know. It's gonna be the slowest thing you've ever seen in your life, but we're probably gonna get killed anyway. So the way it goes is like you can't avoid them. You can avoid them, but you can't like avoid dying from them every now and then, I guess. So that's just the way of the melee. If you play enough, you will die. And yeah, so we use this. It keeps us alive for all the other monsters that don't one-shot. And then we go for the ring and the other ring. I mean, you could take them both at once. It's the same thing pretty much. It's a dual leech with resistances and PDR slam. One thing that I wish I had on this ring is the half restoration. So you have half restoration on this ring and not on this. I have another ring on non-ladder for later, but with the stat. But so we don't use a charm rune. Like, why would I want half restoration if it doesn't even matter if I'm frozen or not when I'm whirlwinding? Well, it does matter when I'm frozen or not after I whirlwinded. So having the half restoration helps me, you know, if I get frozen, I'm still spinning, but when they are dead, I don't want to be frozen for fucking a long time, you know, after that. I want to get cleansed quickly. So half restoration bonus stat if you can get on ring with the dual leech is gonna be so fucking nice. It's just nice. It really makes a difference, especially if you have 2 rings with it. One ring does make a difference, but having 2 is awesome. You're not gonna notice that you're frozen ever. Honestly, playing Whirlwind, you're not gonna even notice that you was frozen. You will be blue, but you won't move slow when you actually start walking around, you know, looting and stuff like that. So that's a nice stat to have on the ring. Hopefully you can get it. The PDR slam is nice, but not necessary, honestly. You don't need PDR on the rings, but helps you survive, and this character is very, very, very old, so we have pretty good stuff, even the crafted stuff. But let's be honest, the rings are pretty easy to craft in terms of crafting. It's probably one of the easier items to craft a good roll on, because you do, like, at least blood rings, because the life stolen per hit is guaranteed. You know, you always get at least 1, 2 or 3% life stolen per hit. So what you're trying to roll, only really what you need to get from a lucky roll is half restoration and mana stolen. You know, that's it. And if you get resistances, well, that's nice too. But yeah, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Amulet, Seraphim. This one is CNC'd, or it has MF slam, whatever. Seraphim is the same reason we use all these other things. This gives us most damage out of this slot, and the same reason we don't use low rune in a weapon is the same reason we don't use High Lord here, because the crit chance is reduced to 1/3 of the actual bonus, so we're only gonna get like 13% deadly strike from using a High Lords, and using a Seraphim we get enhanced damage, and we also get +2 skills extra, which gives us more damage as well. So Seraphim, again, the best in slot. The best slam would be +3 to all skills, but we didn't get that. I mean, we do have that, but it's on a different character. So I'm using this here on this character because I don't play Barbarian anymore, because it's just the worst class in the game. So we just have some crap here. Anyway, this is not crap. This is very hard to get, but very, very good. The weapon. Finally, we come to the weapon. This is the best Whirlwind weapon, if you didn't notice already by the loot filter. It gives you 50% chance to cast Decrepify when you kill an enemy. Okay, so that's nice, but what does it actually mean? Well, when you kill an enemy with Whirlwind, it's still gonna be 50% chance to cast. So that's pretty nice. So we already gonna cast this every 2 mobs on average. And the level 6 Decrepify covers a decent area. So I don't know exactly, but I'll show you the area with the mouse. It's about the size of this fire pit or whatever, like around here. So if you sit around the fire pit, you're all gonna get all of these 3 guys. Okay, Warrior just stepped out of range, but like everybody around the fire pit right now, the Merc and Deckard will be hit by this Decrepify. That's about the size of it. So it's very nice at level 6. Compared to level 1 from, you know, Reaper's Toll level 1 is just... The AoE is just gonna hit 1 monster, maybe 2. Maybe if they're like standing right on top of each other. But level 6 is decent enough to affect all the monsters that you can reach. That's the thing that's super important. So what happens is when you're spinning in a dense map, shit's dying all around you, you know, you're gonna throw Decrepifies in front of everything. And everything you hit will already be decrepified from before. So you're basically perma-decrepifying everything that you hit, at least, because it's next to you and close to you, enough close. Yeah, so what does it do? 50% decrepify. Yeah, it increases actually, well, it decreases their physical damage reduction by 50% on the monsters, you know. So in maps where you run with Barbarian, you're gonna have a lot of monsters with 50 or 80 physical damage reduction. So if you're removing 50% from 80%, you're left with 30%. So they're taking 70% damage compared to before Decrepify, they only took 20% damage. So that is 2.5 times your damage. Because 70 is 2.5 times 20 or whatever, something like that. Maybe even more, 3 point something, I don't know. You're gonna do way more damage with Decrepify on than having a different weapon. Simple as. Against the 80 PDR monster, 100% guaranteed. 3000% fucking guaranteed you're gonna kill it faster with this weapon than with the Breath of the Dying. For the monsters that have 50% PDR, you're gonna do double damage. So whatever you see here on 2-hand damage, multiply it by 2, and that's your actual damage. So if you do that on the bottom end and on the top end, you're gonna see that that's way higher than any Breath of the Dying weapon that you have seen in this game. Okay, let's just get that straight. Before I use also Breath of the Dying, before I knew better, but this is the best, period. The second thing that why this is the best is because you can socket it. So you got 6 sockets, you got a jar rune in there, which means you don't miss anything. You miss a lot with Whirlwind, because Whirlwind will not only reduce your crit deadly chance and crushing blow damage and chance, it will also remove your chance to fucking hit. So having a jar in here will make sure that you hit more than what you would hit if you were using Breath of the Dying rune word. You will just have more damage, hit more often, and you will also slow the enemies. You know, their attack speed and their movement speed will be slowed, and they're yeah, I mean, it's just like there's a number of reasons why it just owns this weapon compared to BOTD. So then the jewels, as far, you know, we go Ja for the ignore target's defense to hit almost every monster every time, and then we go Zod, because the weapon will break so fast if you don't have Zod in here. So don't play without Zod. If you don't have Zod, you're gonna repair this weapon 6 times every map. This is not an exaggeration, this is actual numbers. You're gonna repair it 6 times every map. If you play with other players, if you play solo, you can fucking triple that number, you know. Anyway, we go for the jewels. Then on the jewels here is ED max damage. this is where you get the ED max damage, and this is where you get the best ones. You know, this is where actually 1 max damage doesn't make much difference, but the ED makes difference, like a mega difference. 1% ED here is actually it's a big thing compared to 1% ED and anywhere else. It's like this is 10 times more effective here. So definitely get like the super high roll jewels for this. And because some of you might know, you know, from remembering what I said earlier, you know, melee classes are shit, and ED max damage jewels do not work in stuff like helmets, armors, and shields. So this is where you put ED max damage jewels. You put them in the weapon. That's the only way you put them. And every other class would use attack speed ED, except Whirlwind, Barbarian, that do not need attack speed. So you go max damage ED in the weapon. So these jewels, they are very rare, but they should not cost much, because they simply are not very useful. Even though they are very rare, they are not very useful. So you could get them for a few Hyrons each. It shouldn't be that expensive. Like 5 Hyron maybe for the best kind of roll. I would say maybe 8, you know, for this perfect roll. Maybe 8, you know, but never more than that. That's never. Yeah, anyway. Okay. Inventory. It's pretty simple. We go with damage and life. You know, someone might think, you know, I don't max the bar, but the Barbarian is pretty maxed out. I mean, this is the kind of small charms you want. A couple of run walks to, I mean, until you're like comfortable with your movement speed. It's a personal preference kind of thing. But then just life and the damage on all the small charms. Hit recovery, enough to get you to a breakpoint. Now I just can't remember the breakpoint, but I think it's like 46 or something. I have 48, so I'm getting 8 from the large charm here, and then something else from somewhere else. I don't remember, like these small ones. Yeah, it goes to 48. I think the breakpoint is 47 or 46. Yep, so that you get the hit recovery from Aris 30%, you know, and then you do the rest with the small charms or large charms or grand charms, whatever the fuck you want to do. You know, there's grand charms with damage and life, and there's also grand charms with damage and hit recovery. So if you get to 50, you know, that's good. Or above 47 or 46, sorry. Yeah. So have a look here with all those good stuff, you know. We're still stuck at 3.6k life, 3.7k life. Defense is, I don't know, pretty good, I guess. You know, that's from the shout. I didn't check without the shout, but that's a pretty good defense. Attack rating is gonna be, you know, let's just hit something, I guess. I mean, it could go a map, but it's pretty much the same anyway. 79% in map, it would be like 78 or 77% against those mobs. So that's the kind of numbers you're dealing with. As far as the mercenary goes, as you can see, he doesn't have his armor. Like I said earlier, don't play this character anymore because he just sucks ass, and there's better classes to kill monsters with. So I just removed the armor because it was super expensive and I didn't want to buy a new one. The armor here should be a shaft stop with ED attack speed jewels, enhanced damage attack speed jewels. If you don't get enhanced damage attack speed, you get attack speed, the all res. If you don't get that, get a combination of the two. If you can't get a combination of the two, just get all res with single res. And if you can't get that, just uninstall the game. You're not worthy of using a mercenary. So anyway, the helmet, Kira's Guardian, you might wonder, why the hell doesn't he do Ariath's face? The reason why is because the Ariath doesn't give enough all res, and the armor that I had enhanced damage attack speed jewels. So in order to get enough resistances, cannot be frozen, which has a, and which you need on the mercenary actually. In order to get that, and the attack speed and the whatnot, you know, it was a bit of a cheapo to do this actually, because you can see it has, you know, 14 max damage attack speed jewel in it. If I were to really make a maxed out, you know, mercenary, it would probably be Vex, that's to survive Hydras, by the way. That's the only reason to use Vex is because you die from Hydra, otherwise 100% guaranteed with the mercenary you're gonna get melted without at least 85 fire resist. I would say even 90 probably would be my recommendation. But anyway, Vex and attack speed jewel with something else on it. It's the same thing here, you know, attack speed jewel with something else on it. Obviously, you know, all the rest gives you all the rest and helps against conviction or and low resist, you know. ED, enhanced damage, it gives him more damage and gives him ultimately more lifesteal. So that's why I did enhanced damage, you know. You just want to get attack speed and 2 Vex runes, basically. If you want, you can go 3 Vex runes and attack speed everywhere else. But for the weapon, it's pretty straightforward. Like, this is the reason why he survives, you know. Grandfather gives you 2% life regenerated per second. This coupled with the fact that this mercenary has increased, you know, life regeneration as like a bonus. This mercenary has a hidden bonus where it has increased life regeneration. So that plus, you know, the passive from Grandfather, it gives him so much regen that he survives, you know, from after you kill the council and the Hydras are still there and he can't leech anymore. He's gonna survive those hits for sure by the regen. He's actually survived quite a few Hydras, you know, with no problem, just standing there AFK with the life regen from the weapon and from his own passive ability. As far as that, that's the really only reason to use the Grandfather. The other stats are awesome for this mercenary as well. You know, you got Edged Weapon Master giving him crit chance, damage, and attack rating. You got 50% attack rating bonus. You got damage, you know, and then you got the ability to have 6 sockets, up to 6 sockets on this, which I did have 6 sockets. And if you have 6 sockets, I would recommend doing a bit differently here. I would say if you're doing 6 sockets and you want to be as endgame as possible, you go chum, and that way he will freeze everything that he hits for a very long period of time, which will further increase survivability. 1 chum rune, 2 chum runes, I would say 3 chum runes. Chum runes will freeze for longer, have a higher chance of freezing the target the more runes you add. It's not a guaranteed thing, especially not in Hell. There's a bunch of penalties to freezes target in Hell. One of them is being ranged attacker with this and so on. But melee with multiple chum runes will freeze targets for a very long time actually, and it works pretty well, I think, on a mercenary. And the higher level you get, the more effective this thing becomes as well. So there's a few things here. And as far as swap gear goes, this is my swap gear. A few things in here that we can go over together with the swap, like the weapon swap here. So the weapon swap here is teleport stick. It's a Holy Thunder rune word. It gives you teleport. So this is to teleport. I mean, what can I say? And then we got Radament Sphere. This is for killing Uber or Declone. This is to be able to summon a pile of bodies on a clean area so that I can use Grim Ward on a boss. That's not what I use for mapping though. For mapping I use Spirit Ward on swap. It has a chance to cast Fade on struck. That's why I use it on swap. So when I'm teleporting, oh no, I don't have a hotkey for that, but no, I do. When I'm teleporting, there's a chance I get a bonus Fade for a few minutes. So you can also, yeah, look, I got Fade just now from talking. So look at that. Got the Fade, extra PDR, extra all res. So yeah, you can definitely have this on swap. And you don't need to have 4 sockets, you only need to have 3, you only need to have 1 socket and put a Hell rune in it. The other stuff is just because, you know, the character is old, like I said, so I gather stuff. Second swap item is Steel Rend. This item I put on for Ruined Citadel, which I would run with other people, never do it solo. So I would swap this because there's not many demons that need to worry about in that area, so we go for the flat ED gloves here. They give enhanced damage to everything, so that's why. This is also something that you could use in the Ruined Citadel. It gives mana stolen per hit and it gives increased damage to undead. This would be for like a really nasty one, and this would be for an easy ruined. But you don't need these things. This is just like I'm just showcasing because you could use either one of these. Honestly, you don't need to use Laying of Hands, but Steel Rend is pretty good all around. Ghoul Hide is very nice because of the mana stolen per hit, and you can start using it very early in the. You know, it's level 36. It gives mana stolen from a glove slot, which is awesome, especially at level 36. You know. So Ghoul Hide is a very nice item to have from start to finish, honestly. Your biggest problem in this game, the biggest enemies is the undeads, because they're immune to life steal. So you want to kill undeads fast so that you can hit the other stuff that you can regen from. So having an extra damage to undead helps you survive as well, because you kill undead, get them out of the way, and hit the stuff that restores your HP. Now we can see the defense is really bad without Shout. So going back to that, we had 4.4k now. Let's see what we get. 13k. We gained only 8% dodge from 8% dodge from 17 skill points. So you choose. You know, it might actually be better to just go all resistances on the extra points. You might just go here, because that's how little difference 9,000 defense or whatever. You know. Anyway. Moving back to gears. Last piece of gear to talk about would be the weapon swap. The stash swap, I should say. This is for a map that's immune to curses. It's the same base, it's a glorious axe, same as this. It doesn't same, you can see the picture is the same. So that we use this because some monsters are immune to curses in some maps, you know, they roll like that. So that in that case, when we don't have the curse, this damage is higher. You can see the damage on this 458, 946, 329, 739. So there's about 30% more damage on, you know, on paper here without anything. But when we add in the Decrepify to the calculation, it just goes off the charts. You know, that just completely changes the game. I mean, let's go on a map and just show how bad the character is at killing stuff. I'm just kidding. It's decent, but this is not really good for mapping. Even if you have all the best mapping stuff that I do have, you know, it's pretty slow. Most casters would have just go into that group, boom, 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 and then next group. And they still haven't killed it. There's still monsters around. It's because, you know, my attack is single target. It only goes one at a time. You can see it. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 2. It goes one monster at a time. And that's why it's slow. If it hit a few, I mean, just a little bit % of damage on the other stuff, you know, it would be a different story. But that's the way a melee character, I mean, Whirlwind doesn't have melee splash. It doesn't work. Jesus, it doesn't work on this. I don't like this class, but I played it for the longest time. And something that's interesting, you could tell already, is that the Merc has been around here. There is skeletons all over the place that he doesn't life leech on, and they are shooting him and whatnot. He is taking a lot of damage, but he is regenerating extremely quickly. And if you remember, he doesn't even have an armor. And that's the power of Grandfather. That's the regeneration, that the Merc just becomes... he just lifesteals as much as he would by just doing nothing. Here's where we use the bash skill. When you go Whirlwind, you will have to click once into bash. So you will get it, and that's for the mobs that are immune to physical, even if they're decrepified. And there are a few, there are blunderbores, basically the ones with 80 PDR or more. Naturally, if they roll anything with physical damage reduction on an elite roll, then you can't kill them. You will do 0 damage unless you have bash. So we definitely want to have bash on hotkey for this. Once in a while mob, I mean once in a while I shouldn't say, probably like 3-4 times each map there is a mob that you cannot kill with anything else than bash. So definitely have it on a hotkey. The mercenary died a few seconds ago, but that's fine. He doesn't have an armor. I'm surprised he survived for 5 minutes in this map or whatever already. So yeah, that's about it. Don't think there is much more to mention here. I mean, we could go for the stats again. 50 magic find, it's only from the boots and something else, I don't know. The amulet, yeah. See, we don't even have enough magic find to play maps, honestly. But we're still super slow, even though we have the most damage you can possibly get. That's it. Hopefully Green Dude will buff Barbarian's area of effect, or like melee splash effect range or something. I don't know, because we can't fucking clear maps with certain classes, and builds are just trash. Have a good day though, and see you next time. Peace out, y'all.